Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another thrilling, very festive Minecraft episode on all things well-being. And wow, oh my gosh, it's snowing, like a little, sort of spinning. It's my favorite, snow's my favorite. And yeah, and I also love this sort of Thanksgiving time when there's the confectioner's sugar thing on the leaves with the orange. It's just so beautiful. So anyway, my name is Dr. Kimberly Quinn, and I am beyond excited today to have this chat. And today's chat is sort of going to be on holiday happiness tips, because the irony in it is that so many people get so down during the holidays, and for a very legit reason, right? Because the whole family thing is actually marketed, which kind of turns my stomach a little bit, because obviously, you know, if you're fortunate enough to have a good family, and however you define that family, you know, the family you were born into might have sucked, and you made your own family, you know, and then maybe you went out, you maybe had your own families and kids and everything, and you maybe also created your own family with fabulous friends, and that's all fantastic and good for you. And people who don't have family, man, it just gets really, really hard, because the family thing is literally marketed. It's everywhere you look, and it just can make people who are not in such a good place with family just so incredibly sad. And this is also a time, the holiday time, when we also are a little bit more aware, I think, a little bit more aware of generosity, I think. And so with the first thing we talked about, we need some huge compassion and kindness, right? And with the generosity thing, we got to just like explore that further. So we're going to talk about 5 tips. I just came up with them with Giovanni in the living room at this minute. So number 1 is to practice inner peace. I mean mindfully. I'm talking about on the inside. And I just had this chat with my Minecrafters yesterday, actually, because they're well aware of mindfulness. We've been doing it since the first day of class at the end of August, and they've gotten pretty good at it. And yet we had a talk about how it's easy to kind of forget some of the basics, because right now they're in a spin, you know, they're just sort of in between midterms and finals, and they're looking forward to Thanksgiving week, but they've got all kinds of presentations and things due, and they need the break, and yada yada yada. So there's definitely like a fatigue, let's say, you know, present and things. We started talking about this. We have the control. We do have the control. We cannot control, whoopsie finger, we cannot control, you know, what sort of happens out here a lot. But we can't control how we look at what happens out here. And as Wayne Dyer says, I really love him. I listen to him a lot on the way into campus. He says, you know, when we start to change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And that is just so true. And so I was chatting with my Minecrafters about the whole thing with acknowledging our thoughts. Because mindfulness isn't a meditation. It's meditation, some people call it meditation, but what it is not about is creating a thought vacuum. So in thoughts of well, I might have to go in here because it's getting a little windy. I was trying to be outside because it's so pretty, but it's getting windy, and we're getting our house renovated. Well, not the whole thing, that was so exaggerated. Just the upstairs right now, but I'll just go over here where I can focus. Okay, so when we start to experience non-peaceful thoughts, anxiety, and all the what ifs, and what if I can't afford this, what if I can't do that, what if so-and-so comes to Thanksgiving, what if my brother's, you know, friend's wife comes and I don't like her and she might sit next to me, and what if Aunt so-and-so brings that god-awful green bean thing that she does with, you know, blah, 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 and all that stuff. We can acknowledge that we're feeling anxious. We can acknowledge that we're feeling preoccupied and worried, and we can acknowledge that maybe the disease of wanting is kicked in because we're seeing commercials all over the place, and all that has us focused on what we're lacking. We can have all that rolling through our mind, none of which are peaceful thoughts, right? And we can just acknowledge them and instead of saying and shaming ourselves with, oh, there I go again, look at me, I have so much, and now I'm wanting this and wanting that, or, you know, blah, 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 anxious thought, there goes my anxiety again, and now I'm feeling badly about feeling badly. No, the idea is not to shame ourselves. The idea is to acknowledge the non-peaceful thoughts, and then just, I got glare, sorry, the non-peaceful thoughts, and then just deep breaths and come back into that, okay? So we're going to practice inner peace in a simple way. We're not, saying big and huge. Simple way. When I acknowledge myself caving into the disease of wanting, when I acknowledge myself having anxious thoughts about Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever, when I acknowledge this, to just, instead of dig in, because that which we will resist will persist, we acknowledge them and let them roll on through. And we say, oh, well, seems like I'm anxious today. Welcome to the human race, and who cares? Okay, the next one is to let go of some grievance you have, anything. And here's the thing. So you're like, oh no, here we go, I'm going to have to forgive. First of all, nobody has to do anything but die and pay taxes, okay? The other thing is, that person that the grievance is with doesn't need to know or even be alive. Why? Because the gift is for you. They don't need to know. They don't need the satisfaction again. Again, they may not be in this earth. So think of one thing that's kind of stuck in your crawl, as they say. It's kind of like an old school saying. That's just been stuck in your crawl for ages, and just choose to let it go. It doesn't mean that you need to have a relationship with that person necessarily. If you can do that, great. If you can do that, great, but it doesn't mean that. It's just about letting whatever it is go, that heaviness of resentment. I think of resentment like barbells. I think we talked about this in an earlier video. I forget what we're calling this now. Video, because I just think of like these huge. So drop the weights. Again, the person doesn't need to know. It doesn't give them a pass, because that is not what forgiveness is about. It does not give them a pass. It does not mean you need to have a relationship. It just means you're giving a gift to yourself that you're not going to hang on to your past history at the expense of your destiny. I love that one. That actually came from Dr. Jakes. He's a friend of Oprah and mine, right? She's one of my besties. She just doesn't know. So I'm going to say that again, because that's like, as Oprah says, a pump moment. When we hang on to our past history, it is at the expense of our destiny, because we can't possibly be our best selves when we're carrying all those weights, and it takes up so many our life minutes. It's terrible. So let go of it, not at the expense of your destiny. Number 3 is to do a conscious act of kindness. My Minecrafters do these, and versus random act of kindness. All kindness is good, so go ahead and do whatever kindness. However, my Minecrafters, their assignment is to go out into their respective world and to do something that there's just 2 rules. You cannot know the person. They have to be a complete stranger. So you have to set out that day to see what comes your way. It'd be anything from holding a door open to doing something bigger. Who knows where it'll take you? So you don't know the person, and there's no money exchange, with the exception of buying a Pepsi, cup of coffee, piece of pizza level. Okay, I'm not going to certainly not dissuade people from, donating to good causes and stuff, but for our purposes, because, handing over money, which is great, that's great, super needed at this time and pretty much around the world all the time, right? This is different, because making an effort takes a whole lot more out of you than just writing a check. I'm just saying, okay? So to not know the person and have very little money exchange, very little money involved, no money exchange at all. So to do that, because what we do for ourselves, we do for other people. What we do for other people, we do for ourselves. There's even a dopamine fix, which is, I think, God's, the source, universe's way of keeping us doing nice things for each other. And then the little addendum clause with that is to not tell anyone about it. See if you can do that, because sometimes you just want to share. And it's not because, I don't know, we're showboats necessarily. It's just because, like, we're excited that we did something nice. We saw, we really saw what it did for that person. We want to share that. See if you can hold it in. Because if you can hold it in, it's that much better. Because even leaking it out a little bit, it just kind of takes away from the experience. As it says somewhere in the Bible, and I'm a no Bible expert, I'm telling you, basically the jeepers, religions and cultures around the world are all saying the same thing, right? Just in different language and in different ways. But if there's something in there, like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing or something like that, I don't know. But it makes it even cooler. Cool level is up higher if you can do a really nice thing for someone and keep it to yourself. So just try that. Number 4 is to write a letter to your most important person or an important person. And they don't have to be alive either, actually, because this is for you. And to write a letter to that person, what I mean by important person is that your life would not be the same without them in it, even if they've even if they're not on this earth anymore, because they shaped you in some amazing way. If that person is here, then that's phenomenal. Maybe you haven't seen them in 10 years. It might be a coach. This is another thing my Minecrafters do, right? And I don't. It's not part of the assignment to actually mail it. Though this year I had a handful of them choose to mail them, and some of them were parents and siblings and best friends, a couple of partners, and some of them were coaches and former teachers and things like that. So it doesn't have to be long. It's just, and handwritten is better. Do what you want to with typed, because maybe it's easier, but handwritten is just cooler because it's more personal. So whoever your important person is, they can be from years ago, whatever, and write to them why they're so important to you, why your life would not be the same without them in it. That's number 4, okay? And then number 5 is gratitude cookies. I just did this the other day because we had a lovely 2-hour delay, which wasn't real. It was my own 2-hour delay because I had a meeting get canceled, and I love the people there and everything, but I did the biggest, hugest happy dance in my living room. It was like when you're a little kid, and then back then it came over the radio. There will be a 2-hour delay, and you're like, yes, I can go out sledding in the backyard in my jammies and come in and have cocoa. It was that kind of day. So I made gratitude cookies without any planning, and I brought them to some of my colleagues at work, and they weren't fancy holiday cookies. They were peanut butter chocolate chip. And just here, I said gratitude cookies. I appreciate you. Here you go. Didn't even plan that stuff. And wow, did that go far. Plus, they're really good. I mean, they taste good. But gratitude cookies. So let's just recap. So practice inner peace by allowing the non-peaceful thoughts to go through, acknowledging them without judgment of ourselves, and just deep breaths, and getting centered again. Letting go of one grievance, really let it go. The person, remember, does not need to know. They don't even need to be on this earth. Why? Because it's a gift for you. It doesn't give them a pass. It's just you completely dropping the weight and letting it go. It's not about them whatsoever. We don't care if they apologize, don't need it. Just let it go. The third one, conscious act of kindness. So you don't know the person, no exchange of money unless you're buying like pizza, coffee, Pepsi level. If you do some kind of little craft and bring it to like an assisted living home, just minimal money, it's because it's about the effort. Number 4 is to write a letter to your most important person or an important person about how your life would have been so different without them in it. And if you can do it, send it. And then the 5th one is make gratitude cookies. They don't have to be in all kinds of fancy wrapping, or they can. Really, it's up to you. And it doesn't have to be around Christmas and Hanukkah. I did this like 2 weeks ago and just called them gratitude cookies. And it's fantastic. So these 5 holiday happiness tips hopefully will really help us all to stay centered on the meaning that the holidays can potentially have, because it's easy to get swept up in all the non-meaning stuff, and I know you know what I mean. And the only things that have meaning are those things we give meaning to. So in order to give meaning to your own holiday experience and the experiences of those you love is really all wrapped around mindfulness, gratitude, and peace. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful, peaceful, grateful day.